Today, it's all about flowers. We're showing you how 4 extraordinary homes celebrate the artistry of floral design. From Paris to California, these spaces reflect creativity, beauty, and a true passion for living with flowers. We begin in Paris, where a dreamy left bank apartment brims with flea market finds, soft florals, and timeless charm. From there, we travel to Florida, where a 1920s Spanish Mediterranean home dazzles with bold patterns, warm colors, and whimsical touches. Then we head to Texas, where a cozy family home and bright studio showcase a warm, garden-inspired style. And finally, we're in California, where a serene minimalist retreat pairs clean lines and soft textures with breathtaking arrangements at every turn. Together, these homes show how flowers can transform not just a space, but an entire way of life. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Bonjour, Homeworthy. I'm Sandra Sigmund. I'm so honored to have you here in Paris with me. Let me show you around and I'll bring you to my apartment.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Bonjour, I'm Sandra Sigmund. I own a French-inspired floral home garden store in Andover, Massachusetts, but I'm now here in Paris at my apartment in the 6th arrondissement. So I was so fortunate to come to Paris in my early 20s. I actually came to work here for 18 months. Funny story, everyone thinks I came to study abroad. I actually came because I was a figure skater with the troupe Holiday on Ice. For you Americans, Stars on Ice is kind of a common name, but over here it's called Holiday on Ice, and the headliner of our show was Katharina Witt. And she was the German Olympic champion. So we were based here in Paris because we had to go visit a lot of the European countries. But I always loved coming back after those long trips and just being immersed in the gorgeousness of Paris. I came from a very New England home. I grew up in the Boston area. So to come to Paris and to see the big boulevards and the bridges and the buildings, I was so smitten. I fell in love. It truly was a place that was so special to me. After living here for 18 months, I decided, at 21, it was time to retire and to head back home. And I remember driving to the airport the last time, and I looked over my shoulder and I said, this can't be the last time I live in Paris. And for about 25 years, I've not stopped talking about living someday back here in Paris. But I think my husband was, after like 25 years of me talking about this, he and I had a conversation one time, and it was COVID. I think we all were just in this place about like, what is life about? You know, life's too short. We've been through something really kind of crazy, and we had a conversation about what our next phase step would be, because our children were getting older. Our last one just went to college, so we were becoming empty nesters. And I remember saying a comment about how our friends were moving to the city, to Boston, and I thought, well, I actually rather go to Paris. And he said, I would too. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was so excited. I actually had a realtor here in Paris that I knew, and I said to my husband, are you serious? Because I'm gonna call him. And he said, yeah, let's go for the weekend. We made the reservation, we hopped on a plane. I mean, we were just coming out of COVID. I think vaccinations were just coming through, and we were allowed to come back to Europe. So masks, it was the whole 9 yards. So we had to be very strategic about what appointment, where we were going, and how many apartments we could see. So we did have some thoughts of what we wanted. Of course, budget is one of them. But my realtor did say to me, now Sandra, you know Paris pretty well. Where are you thinking? Like what arrondissement, what neighborhood? And I used to live in the 8th, and the 8th is wonderful. It's near the opera. There's a lot of commotion. There's a lot of energy. I really liked it, but I always navigated back to the left bank, the Saint-Germain-des-Prés. The 6th arrondissement was my favorite, and my realtor was like, okay, so you want to be in only one neighborhood? And I said, actually, there's this one street I love. And he was like, whoa, one street, one arrondissement? Okay, would you entertain any other areas of Paris? And I said, sure, anything in this area. We went for the weekend. On Friday, we landed on Friday. We had about 5 appointments to see apartments in this area. And on Saturday, we could only get 3 apartments that we could view. Unfortunately, Sundays were out of the question. They do not show apartments on Sunday. And we were leaving on Monday. We actually came to Paris, stayed in a hotel, went and saw all the apartments the first day. And I would say I had a wish list. And the wish list was this, that I don't live here full time, so I didn't want a major renovation. The second thing is I wanted it to be bright and airy. I didn't want to feel like I was like in a closet. And the third was the location. So most of the apartments we did see on that Friday were just not anything we fit what we were looking for. And I will say I kind of came home back to our hotel and was a little sad. The next morning, my husband woke me really early, nudged me and said, what about this apartment? This is in that area you like. And I said, where did you find that? He said, I found it online. And of course, I sent the link quickly to our real estate agent. And he said that had just gone on the market that Friday, so the day before. And I said to him, can we go see it? And he said, absolutely not. And I said, why? And he said, because I'm never going to find the realtor who is the listing broker that will show it to you on a Saturday morning or Saturday. And I said, please, we're only here through Monday. Could you try? And he said, of course, I will try. And he got back to us about 45 minutes later, and he said, they're willing to show you the apartment now. And I said, right now? And they said, yes, because the real estate agent had to go babysit her French grandchildren and wanted us to only, come and see it that morning. So we literally threw clothes on. We were completely jet lagged. We raced over to where the apartment was, and I still get chills thinking about this. And you know how they talk about manifesting? We drove up and it was the street I always wanted to live on. And to this day, I still get choked up about that because, you dream and you just don't think dreams will come true, but it sort of is my little Parisian dream. And we walked in and it was everything we were looking for. Nothing too huge, 8 beautiful balcony windows with lots of light coming in. And it was pretty special. And we bought it on the spot. Thank you to my husband who gave me the nudge, because the real estate agent said that there were 5 people coming to view the apartment on Monday. So we took a big leap of faith and we said, yes, we will take it. And I remember leaving the apartment and we both looked at each other and we said, we think we need a drink. And of course, you're in Paris, they serve alcohol all day long. So we toasted with champagne at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we looked at each other and said, oh my goodness, what did we just do? And I remember my husband holding my hand and said, you know what, honey, life is too short. And let's do this and let's jump. And let's take this dream, and we can always sell if it doesn't work out. We are now in the entry, and what I really love about this, there's a lot of light coming through. It's our own little private entrance before we head up into the apartment. But how I wanted to kind of feature this very small area is with some beautiful artwork that I found. These are actually sketches I found at one of a street fair called Porte-à-Vent, and what I loved about these is I think they were like 25 euro, so not terribly expensive, but then I had them all framed and grouped together so it kind of lands this wall in a nice showpiece to the entry. So most apartments have really tons of staircases before they enter the apartment. I am so fortunate. We just have this one little staircase. So come on, follow along. I love this cute little area right when you come to the landing. It's kind of my little nook with these gorgeous exposed beams, which is part of the home in the inside of the apartment. But what I did is I kind of got some old books, some beautiful artwork, some gorgeous pottery actually I found in Provence. Whimsical is her name. Lovely ceramic artist. And this stone urn I found also in Saint-Ouen, and it kind of anchors in. I had to add some French lavender for a scent. So really just so charming. Here we are in the salon, and this is actually my favorite room. And I love it so much because it really allows me to have the room to do a lot of things. When I used to stay in hotel rooms, I'd bring all my antiques back and I'd have them everywhere and I couldn't walk anywhere. So this is like gives me some space to kind of move around. Also, if I want to entertain and have my groups here from my tours, we can have, like I said, our petit déjeuner and really entertain nicely. So when I was creating this room, the most important thing was, of course, furniture. So I thought I needed to get some modern furniture. I thought antiques would be a little tough for my 5 boys and my husband to sit on. So I was actually got the chairs and the sofas first. These are actually Italian. They're from a company called Natuzzi. So comfortable. They have a little swivel to it. So I got my base first, and then I started bringing in all the other elements to the apartment, especially the antiques. One piece in this room that I need to talk about is this beautiful marble fireplace. I feel it anchors the room, gives it a focal point. This is actually mantle that we found in Saint-Ouen at Marc Maison. And when we went to find the mantle, it was actually a cute story. We actually, on the other side in the kitchen, you'll see where the mantle once was. And of course, when renovations took place, they took it out. So we wanted to recreate this kind of effect here. And when we were choosing one, my husband made the joke that we are probably purchasing the one that was taken out of the apartment and now we're putting it back in. But I do love it. Unfortunately, it doesn't, there can't burn wood here because of the old flutes. They found it was a fire hazard, but I still love how elegant it looks, and it was one of my favorite purchases. On one of our last trips, I said to my husband, we need some art. I can't do any more antique art because I started feeling like this was starting to look like my grandmother's apartment. So I really wanted to get some modern art. So we went to some beautiful galleries in the Marais, also here in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. So I was so fortunate to find this oil abstract art, and it was the most perfect size. We walked in, and you know when you know something is instantly going to be perfect? Well, I saw this and I said to my husband, this is the one, we have to get it. And of course, I didn't have a measuring tape, but I knew it would be perfect. I paired it with a really modern vase that I did get locally at one of the art galleries here as well, and I thought I just filled it with some pretty viburnum. So it's really lovely to change it up. The other thing, for all your Catholic schoolgirls out there, I went to Catholic schools my whole life. This is a very old 1930s candlestick with the Virgin Mother Mary. I just thought it was so kind of cute, and it has little hearts on the base here. And I feel like I love Paris, so I thought this brought a little joy to the mantle and also kind of played off of the modern vase. This was something I desired so desperately for this space. This is a chest of drawers, a commode. I went to a famous flea market called Chateau, which is the Brocante de Jambon, which at first I was like, what is that? And it's basically the fair of the ham. And lo and behold, they are roasting pigs there, and they have like big ham dinners. So it's a fun place to go to look for antiques. And when I turned the corner and saw the dealer had this beautiful commode, I instantly ran to it because I knew it would be absolutely perfect. And it's super old, I would say the late 1800s, and it is all oak and brushed and has a nice sheen to it. So it's really one of my favorite pieces. And also, if we have folks stay here and they need to put their clothes here, it's really a nice kind of storage unit as well. Also at this famous fair Chateau, besides eating the ham, I actually saw this plaster and it's a mock-up for artists to make before they're going to make it in bronze. And I don't know, I fell in love. I felt like it's just kind of like a guy sitting on a base, and I thought he had a lot of character, and I thought he would be perfect for in here. So the dealer told me it was an artist that did end up making this in bronze. I said, I can't afford the bronze, but I will take the plaster. So a prized possession. Love all of this kind of antique vintage, mirrors, and I love these little chandeliers. I think they're so darling. It doesn't work, but I still love it. And the other thing, I found this mirror in Saint Juan. I love how it has the old mercury that's coming through. It's just not perfect. And I feel like, in life, what's perfect? So for me, this was just so fitting. And I love the reflection of light, and it bounces off the window. So that was another reason I wanted a mirror here. Picking art for the salon here, I saw this black and ink etching, and I thought it would be absolutely perfect. I love how I kind of just wedged it in here with the detailed modern black frame, which I just loved. And then of course the old candlesticks, I just have a thing for them. I love the ironwork and the leaf motif to my floral days, so one of the reasons I chose those as well. And then flanked it with two gorgeous chairs, also vintage from Saint Juan, in a crushed velvet, and pillows by one of my favorite companies, Caravel. Okay, we have to talk about these doors. So I showed my architect a bazillion Pinterest pictures of beautiful Parisian doors, and he actually had these made for me. So they're actually new, but he got them to look old with all these gorgeous detail moldings. And look what I found also at one of my fairs. And they are old. He told me they were impossible to put on these doors, but I begged him to do it. And I just love them, and the detail is just stunning. You just can't find these kind of beautiful hardware anymore, but I was so happy I could. So we do close this off if people want privacy, or if someone's sleeping and jet lag, we like to have an option to either close them or keep them open. But they're definitely one of my favorite things in this whole apartment. This chandelier, I can't say it's my favorite because everything's my favorite, but this chandelier was wedged on a street fair off to the corner behind a dealer's kind of table, and I felt like I had laser vision and went straight for it. And it was so charming. It's kind of a little wonky. You can see the crystals are not sitting straight, but I just loved it. And I thought this medallion could hold a huge chandelier here. And once we put it up, he had to re-electrify it. Yes, my contractor probably wanted to kill me, but I really loved it. I thought it just kind of made the whole room. But a fun fact, my children, I have boys, they tend to be tall. They always knock their head here. So I'm always telling them to go around, but I just love it, and I don't want to replace it. My husband wants me to replace it, but I want to keep it. And again, I just think the crystals are just so old-fashioned and remind me of my grandmother's house. So it was a keeper. Can we talk about these moldings? This is called the wedding cake, and it kind of has the detail that one would see on a wedding cake. So when my architect told me about this, I thought, oh my goodness. So I was actually fortunate enough to choose the design with this master plaster person, and he and I kind of detailed, I had to have flowers in it because of course being a florist, it was really something that was near and dear to me. So again, the leaf motif, which you see also plays off of my candlesticks over there, and the rest of the molding as well in the home. If you can see one little detail, the little imprinted flower here, and then I mimicked it here on the moldings, and again, all completely handmade. The moldings were very important to me. When we did move in, the apartment was renovated and it was more modernized, so I wanted to bring a lot of the charm back in. So one important part of it was the detail of all of this gorgeous molding, and everything had a thought and a purpose behind it, and it really came together because it's a good sized room, but I didn't want to overwhelm it, and I didn't want it to be too much or too busy. And I think we just really did a great job, and it was perfect with all of the little detail that we did put into it. So I have a very dear friend, and she knew I was looking for tables and other little small items for the apartment. We went, I think, a whole full day of going into a million shops, and that night we were heading to dinner, and she called me and she said, on my way home I stopped at this really small antique store and I bought you a table. And I thought, whoa, okay. And when she brought it, I'm thinking a big table. And she brought me this adorable bar cart. And I thought, it's absolutely perfect. She purchased it sight unseen without me, even requesting it. And I think it's just adorable and charming, and it fits the perfect for like a little bar, perfect for a pre-aperitif dinner drink. And it's just, again, I've added little vintage pieces of moldings. This one is wood. It was off of a chateau, I've been told. But again, anything with flowers, I just have to. One thing about this whole apartment is it is so quiet, and I attribute that to all of the insulated doors. These doors open, they're double, and you have like little balconies out here where you could put potted plants. I would love to do that if I lived here full time, but unfortunately I do not. So right now it's bare, but maybe I can get a friend to come water for me. I have a thing for religious items. So I found this at Saint Ouen. It came out of a cathedral, and it was holding all of the large pillar candles. It's hand carved, also late 1800s. I thought it was so charming. It's almost as big as me, and I'm about 5'8", and it is just a perfect piece for this corner. I thought there was like kind of some dead space, so isn't this so charming? I just have to get myself a big candle now. Back to art. This is something I thought would really be great for the apartment, is some modern art. This is black and white photographs. I found it in a beautiful gallery in the Marais, and it's a photographer who shot iconic places here in Paris. And just this guy here just kind of standing with his car on a bridge, so Parisian. And then this one, because I do have a French dog. He's a Cavachon, but half French, a Bichon Frisé. And this is just something I thought was so adorable. It reminds me of my own little dog, Obi. And this is a square not too far from my apartment. And again, I actually wonder like where he was going, what he was doing, but he looks like he has his bag, and he's probably coming back from the grocery store with his 3 dogs. Adorable. Le chien. In this area, I think there's so many artisan brands, and one thing I love to do is have like different types of vases. This is a brand called Alix Serenis. It's here in the 6th, and she makes beautiful pottery all done in Limoges, so it's all porcelain. This one has a little bit of like almost like a little basket weave with a little detail, and I think it embraces the flowers so well. Fun story, yesterday I ran to the market, the street fair market that we had in our neighborhood, and got these beautiful flowers, which is ranunculus, some gorgeous double peony tulips, and oh my god, and this viburnum, and it smells so good. So just to brighten the table, had to have flowers, of course. Next we move on to this marble table. I love how it anchors. Sometimes when I bring all my antiques back from the fairs and I need to price them and to skew them, and sometimes I just kind of put them all on this table so I can visually see them. So it's a great landing table. Or again, if you're entertaining and you want to bring out some hors d'oeuvres. So I love this table so much. Also purchased at Saint Ouen. You can see a theme here. I guess I love it there, and I love the old iron base. And again, you'll see little medallions on either side of the legs, which is adorable. Paired it with some more vintage art because I wanted the apartment to have some modern art, but also some antique. And this is just such a good, really beautiful picture with lots of landscape. Because I wanted simple little detail, and I would be putting a lot of things on this table, I went with these gorgeous candelabras, again with some floral detail. I think they're brass, but they could just be metal. But again, found them at an antique fair. Sometimes you just buy things you like. I don't have this like set thing where it has to be a certain age or from a certain era. I just like what I see, and I buy what I love. So these were definitely something I loved. So I knew I needed some lamps in this room, and I searched everywhere for some really beautiful kind of modern lighting, and again stopped at Saint Ouen, saw this mid-century modern lamp, and it was the perfect size, perfect color, and I love these kind of round bulbs. It kind of reminds me of like the earth and the stars, so it definitely was coming here, and it works just so perfectly in this corner. And sometimes I just put this on at night and the whole room is glowing, so it's one of my favorite pieces. This is a very unique piece. I wanted a very simple coffee table, not a lot of detail, nothing too large. So when I found this, actually also at Porte de Vanves, it was pretty much covered with lots of other things, and I uncovered that it was a mirror on top, so fell in love instantly. Has the metal and also the detail in the legs, and it was just a simple, most perfect size, and it's very movable, so it was one of my favorite pieces to have here, but just really kind of unique and just the perfect size for this room. One thing I thought was important is to have a really comfortable sofa. This one turns into a sofa bed, which is really comfortable, I've been told, because I upgraded the mattress at the dealer that we went to purchase this in. It's beautiful when it comes out because it has an extra long base to it. So it was really a special purchase. And what's great too is all the curtains here were done by Madura, and they're all blackout. So this could be a really charming area to sleep, and paired it with some really just simple linen pillows. And one of my favorite brands is a company called Antoinette Poisson. You'll see some other touches throughout the apartment, but this pillow I just think spoke to me. And I loved how it had some like deep colors and blues and browns just to bring in a little bit more color. So just paired that on the sofa, and look at the little tassels. Love the little details. French do it well. So of course we needed a rug to anchor all the furniture in this room. I was fortunate enough to come when France has their big sales. Usually it's in January and June. I went to the Bon Marché, which is one of the largest department stores here in Paris, and they have a home decor store. This was sitting in the showroom, and I walked in and I was like, I'll take it. I knew it was going to be the perfect size, perfect color. And when I got it back here and kind of set everything up, it was just instantly perfection. So very, very good find. I want to point something out to you. Generally, most Parisian apartments do not have air conditioning. My husband said it was a prerequisite that we had to have air conditioning. So especially if we're here in the later months of the summer. But what I really find interesting is because we couldn't put central air conditioning here, there was another quick fix. And what our contractor did is he drilled a hole into the wall out to the edge of the building, and it's capped off on the other side. But what's interesting is there is a small hose that gets attached, and there is a unit that you can use for each room. So we have a unit in here, and then we did the same in our bedroom, and it really works really well. And we have air conditioning, so on those hot days we turn it on and it's very quiet. You can sleep, you can work, and it's no problem. And we just kind of hide it behind the curtain. It really works. So once we did sign the papers and got the keys to our apartment, we loved, like I said, the location. We did love the apartment. The renovation wasn't too horrible because the previous owner, who was a doctor, and she actually held her appointments here in the salon, and she pretty much modernized it. She added new windows, which was wonderful. She insulated. So it was really quite nice, but I felt like it needed more charm. So we hired an architect, which is like a contractor here in France, and we talked about bringing some of the old charm. I love the Haussmann buildings where they have the parquet floors and the moldings and the plaster walls. So I wanted to bring in a little bit of that charm. So when we sat and had our first consultation, he actually was able to get some of the drawings that were here previously, and we built the whole room around these pictures that he was able to recover. So you'll see the moldings that we put back in. The cute story, he told me that all of the moldings had to be hand done, and they would make it by plaster, but we had to wait for the certain person because there's a lot of people that don't really do that art form anymore. So when I did get to meet the master plasterer, he came in and he told me he had just finished up at Versailles, and I said to myself, oh, how about we get your assistant? And he laughed and he said, no, I'm going to make it beautiful. I'm going to make it like Versailles. And it's kind of a joke. So my husband's like, yeah, you have your petite Versailles here. Other than that, I think modernizing it was just like the kitchens, the bathrooms, but then we wanted to again add some more charm into it, so we added a lot of other things as well. This is it for the living room, or salon as they say, and now we're going to head to the kitchen. when we were looking at all the apartments, most of the kitchens we saw were the size, probably like half the size or even smaller. My husband called them closets, and I had to agree. So when we found this apartment, we knew this was a huge kitchen for Paris. Not only did it have all the amenities with a full refrigerator, most of the time you see a half refrigerator, and it also has a dishwasher, which again, a full-size dishwasher. Sometimes they have the really petite ones. But what I loved about this is the floor. It has the old chevron parquet floors, and my architect has been begging me to replace them, but I just won't because I love them so much. But also it's modernized, so it has a lot of storage, which I really liked. And also, you know, my coffee maker and just all the necessities you need. Because eating out 3 meals a day in France, you would basically spend all your time at a restaurant because, as you know, the French take their time. And I was sitting for 2 3-hour lunches and 2 and 3 hour dinners. And when I'm here for such a short time that I do have a lot of things to do. So sometimes it's just nice to have a kitchen where I can make something simple for dinner. Like last night, I just made something really simple. And I like that I have the option not to have to eat out every single meal. So I have my breakfast here. I come back from a long day and I might have a tea in the salon. But it's just nice to be able to have this room. And when I was designing it, pretty much with the architect, I was so concerned about what to pick and when to pick it, and I didn't want to feel rushed. So I took my time, and everything was white. And I knew, okay, this is not going to work. And I really wanted to make it feel a little bit more old Parisian to go with the apartment. Hence why I went with this really cool wallpaper. It's a brand called Antoinette Poisson. And it is an artisan brand that makes domino paper, and the paper is this linen, so it's a very thick, and the way it absorbs the color is just so much different than I've seen before. So I also thought this pattern would be kind of a little different in a kitchen. When I told my friends that I would be doing a black and kind of beige wallpaper in the kitchen, they thought I was crazy, but it works, and I really love how it just brought this room to life. And it's one of my favorite rooms. And I know I keep saying favorite, but it really is. The other thing I'd love to add is I actually brought this back from the States because I knew I wanted it to be a certain size. So I had this made, brought it in my suitcase, had my contractor put it up, and then I just enhanced it with this vintage wine bucket that of course we do use when we serve wine. Also more vintage art that I just had framed, and just did like a little stone urn to bring a little hominess with the plants. And of course there's some cutting areas, and the natural light here is just stunning. I love having this window and that I can look out in the morning. I just put simple linen shades with this gorgeous vintage detailed curtain holder. And you can see the other side here. I just think this detail is so beautiful. Lighting, I feel, is so important. So task lighting in the kitchen is, essential when you are going to be needing the light, especially when it's nighttime. So I found these at a fair that are glass and had them electrified. And instead of just doing one for the room, I decided to do 2. And I really think because it's a nice long kitchen, that the room can really hold the 2. So added again the little detail with the canopy that matched the wall color, the ceiling color, and it just works. And it's really great to come in, and it brings a lot of light into the room. And also they're incredibly charming with this scalloped edge. So adorable. Another thing that attracted me to this kitchen is these built-in shelves, and I am a big fan of just putting like things that are usable but also look pretty. And I found this prized champagne bucket. I think it says it is from 1798. I mean, how cool is this? So sometimes I just fill this with, fruit or whatever I'm serving, or as they say, you can use it for champagne. So love that. Another thing is I found this plate at an antique fair, and I thought it was so cute, and I was originally just going to put it somewhere else in the apartment, but a friend of mine, unbeknownst to me, found another one. So it's a man and a woman, and because I have 2, I added them into this kitchen little nooks here. And because we're in France, I knew I had to use a lot of little vintage things to, you know, hold standard things that you normally would use, you know, just a basic container. So I love this pedestal. It's usually used for cakes, but I'm just using it to have candy, French candy. I also love these little silver platters. And this holds my bread. And if you are in Paris and you want to go to an amazing bread bakery, this is Poland. And they also make the most delicious butter cookies. If you are in town, definitely head there and get these. So again, just charming little things that I love to use here in the apartment. And this is one of my favorite. I've had people actually barter me for this on who, you know, friends come and they're like, Sandra, I'm stealing this from you. And I said, absolutely not. It's my little sugar bowl. It's actually not a sugar bowl. It was used for, I think, jams or jellies, but I use it as my sugar bowl. But look at this detail. Again, you can see I have the same reoccurring theme here throughout my home. And, you know, even these little cafe spoons that I found with this cute little detail. I guess it's in the details, as they say, and this is one of my favorite. So cute. Again, being a busy shopkeeper, sometimes coming home and just wanting to cook. I love trying different French recipes. One of my favorite books is this one called My Paris Kitchen. David actually lives here in Paris. And if you want some great recipes, sometimes I just make a roasted chicken with vegetables. It's delish. He is such an inspiration and one that I would say highly get. Because, you know, in French way of cooking is always the simple ingredients. It's not layers of mixing all different things, and that's what I like to cook, and just keeping it really simple. And everything is so incredibly fresh here. I went to the market yesterday, and it was incredible. Like, you know, huge peppers and legumes and white asparagus and things that I just don't see often at home. So I love to cook really in its natural state, and just a good baguette and some cheese and ham is also good when you're in a pinch. So it wouldn't be a French kitchen without a French breadboard. So I have a new French breadboard from a brand called Berard, which is really lovely. But then I also have an old vintage one, and you can see the wear in it. And I just love these. I do use them, but I also just love how they accent this area. And, you know, this adorable teapot I found, and I don't necessarily use it, but I just thought it had so much detail, and I needed like some other objet to enhance the kitchen, and found this and thought it was perfect. That's so cute. So I spoke about the mantle that was originally here, and here you can see this is where the hearth of the marble was. So I knew there was a fireplace in this area, hence why we added it to the adjoining side of the wall, which is where the salon is. So I love this part of history. My architect asked if I wanted to remove it, and I said absolutely not. I love the history behind it. I love the great reminder that someone lived here and perhaps used this as, you know, their fireplace in their home. So one of the things I used to do is, because our shows were in the evening, during the day I didn't have a lot to do, and I started stumbling into French flower shops. You're probably asking why. My mother was a floral designer, and I would go to these flower shops and, you know, think of the flowers spilling out into the streets. We just didn't have that back in the US at that time. So I was mesmerized by the beauty of just how many abundance of flowers. The shops, the fleuristes as they're called, are quite small here, but they really make an impact with the florals that they carry and the types of flowers. Back when, you know, we were doing, you know, my mom would do bouquets with, you know, the standard baby's breath, carnations, leatherleaf, and here they were using wands of rosemary, peonies the size of like a dinner plate. It was actually something I've never seen. So I used to call my mom every Sunday and tell her about these flower shops. So hence I had this grand idea that we were going to open a French flower shop together. And of course, the name of the French flower shop I kind of interned at, truly I was washing buckets and just helping them cut flowers, but I felt so proud to be there. And the name of the flower shop was Les Fleurs. So I had this, again, dream with my mom that we were going to open a French flower shop. So when I did head back home, we started building the framework of opening this French flower shop. We actually opened it 35 years ago. I was 23, And we were so proud to have the same types of flowers, the same type of look that the French Parisian flower shops would have. And I just was so proud. And it was definitely a hard time in my life because after we opened, my mom passed away a month later. And I truly believe like her whole spirit is still with me. And every time I come to Paris, I walk the same streets and look at the flower shop and I'm reminded of her. So as the years went on, I definitely started to really miss Paris, and I would find any excuse to come back. I was a true Francophile. So I decided that because the flower shops would use like old, zinc buckets and other articles that were antique and vintage, I thought I'm going to start doing that. So I started making trips back to Paris for years and would collect things. First, I used to stuff them in my suitcase because I really didn't know how to get like the goods back to the US. It's actually a question a lot of folks ask me now. And now what we do is I come to buy here and I go to the big brocantes or fairs and we fill containers now and ship them back to the States and we display them all over our store. And it's quite remarkable because the things that you can get here is still so enchanting, so beautiful. I love the fairs we go to. And now I'd love to show you an adorable half bath that I did with some really cute wallpaper. But before that, this is an area that was empty space. We weren't sure what to do with it. And because again, we have 5 kids and we don't have all 5 kids coming to visit us, but when we do, we wanted to have something that we could, have extra sleeping areas. So this is actually a Murphy bed that comes out to 2 bunk beds. So it's great for, the boys when they're here and they want to just, crash. The other thing is it's a great table to work off of. Sometimes I have all my paperwork and I paired it with these adorable poufs or ottomans that the fabric is pierre frais and did it in a modern kind of tone on tone to match with the wood. And it's just a really great area to have this extra space to, again, accommodate, when the boys are here or friends are here. So I just love it. Because I love adding little touches throughout the house, this was something that was just adorable, and it's a flower frog. So if you can see the holes here, you fill it with water and then you put the stems in, and it's just a very different type of vase that you can use for your blooms, and I love it and I do use it. So it's here just waiting for me to use it when I do these things. Also, I don't know if any of you know this, but I wrote a book, and the book is all about French blooms and my story about how I came to France and became a floral designer, and about my home and the story of my mom. So if you ever want to read it, it's really a heartfelt story and one that I cherish. This is a long hallway that takes you to the bedroom and other areas of the apartment. Because it's a long wall, I found this artwork with sketching of like kind of lots of people, and I thought it spoke to me. I thought it was a really cool piece of art, and it's by an artist called Wayart, and I went a little crazy and I thought, even though it's kind of black and white, but I thought this texture and this detail would work really well, and it's a good sized piece, so it kind of anchors this wall, and of course more vintage lighting to add a little touch of je ne sais quoi. Off this long hallway we have a charming half bath with this beautiful wallpaper that I adore, again from the brand Antoinette Poisson. I paired it with a lovely chandelier just to add a little charm to this small space, with a traditional French mirror, and it was the most perfect size. I also thought leaving this space a little open, I could add a medallion, and this mirror spoke to me. I saw it, I knew it would be perfect here. Another thing I loved is this is actually a Japanese artist, and her work is absolutely so beautiful, and it fit nicely with the theme of the wallpaper and everything else we were doing in the apartment. So I often get asked, especially being a shopkeeper, so many folks come in, Sandra, where should I go, to, what's the favorite gardens you go to? What's your favorite restaurants? What clothing stores? Where do you buy this? And the questions go on and on. So I actually decided to hire someone to help me, and we made a whole Paris guide, and it's time tested of all the places I've been to. It's so helpful, and I'm so honored that I can share all the places that I love and adore with all my guests. I'm actually thinking of doing one on how to buy an apartment here, because that is probably the next biggest question I get. You know, I've heard so many folks are saying, like, how long and how often do you come? You know, there is the 90-day rule. If you do not live here permanently, you are allowed a visa for 90 days. After 90 days, you do have to head back to the States. But I do want to maybe include something that I can help others, who I can share my journey that would help others. Maybe find a dream place here in Paris as well. Welcome to my bedroom. This was such a joy to find. Most of the bedrooms I went and saw in the apartments were teeny tiny, so to have this extra space to fit an actually good sized bed was just such a joy to find. One thing I loved about this room also is that it had this blank wall in the back, and I found this vintage wallpaper, almost like a mural, because I knew getting an artist to come in would be quite expensive. So I thought this would be a really nice touch to the bedroom and to anchor the room as well. And I also love these floors. They're the parquet floors that you saw in the kitchen, and I feel they just bring this room to life and have so much character. So I'm so glad we kept them. Really trying hard to delicately take care of them and not wear shoes all the time, and hopefully they're going to last a lot longer. A few details I wanted to get were, of course, a proper seat to put my shoes on, and this was the most perfect size. I got it from a French brand called Floral. I love it in the type of linen fabric we did, but look at this vintage light. It is just such a really fun, cool kind of light fixture. Wanted something different, and the flowers just spoke to me. Look at these tulips, they're so cute. Paired it also with more vintage art, and the frame is also vintage, so it pairs nicely with all the colors in this room, and I love her. I think she's looking over her shoulder, something kind of special. Then we wanted to get some bedside tables, and I didn't want them to be matchy, so this is just a traditional French marble end table, really petite, which I love the little iron detail around the base. This bedside table I found at Chateau, and the carving was so detailed and special that I knew it would be perfect for the side of this bed. And the knobs are just so simple, playing off to the carvings on either side, and it just works really nicely. Something I have to talk about, I thought nightstand with big lamps were going to be just too cumbersome or get knocked over. So I paired it with these two hanging medallions, also from the artist Alix Derenice. They're porcelain, and they have a little beaded texture on the top. I love the size, I love the scale. I thought it really played nicely against the ceiling and the gorgeous wallpaper mural. And they're actually quite taskful too, where we can use them for reading at night. For the bedding, I went very simple, mixed it with a gorgeous quilt and some linen and a velvet pillow. Very simple. I didn't want it to compete with the mural. But one piece my husband insisted I get for the bedroom is something where he could charge his phone, his computer. I found this also at a brocante and thought this was the most perfect size. I love the detail. The drawer holds our chargers, wherever else we need, and it's just great for us to put whatever we need to put down when we're traveling here. And it's the most perfect size. I could not have made it more perfect, and I love it. It's a really great piece. One of the things I also found really challenging is most of the apartments had no closet space. So when I walked in to this master bedroom and saw this walk-in closet with ample room to put extra linens, all my clothes, even a little hamper, I was like, this is just amazing. So it's truly a joy to have so much space and to be able to put all the clutter in here, and I love it. It's great. A unique detail are this lovely beams you'll see throughout the apartment, and I love that they're exposed, and it kind of gives it almost like a little barny feel, but I really like it because it kind of grounds the room. It picks up what the parquet floors are doing, and it's like a really cool entrance to my little walk-in closet here. So now we're gonna head to the master bathroom. So you see more of this beam work throughout this part of the house. And I love this bathroom because it's actually quite large. It's been modernized, and what's really great, it has a full bathtub and a shower and another toilet. So it has a lot of space in here, overhead, rain head. It's really just great size for this size apartment. The artwork in here is a little bit of a mix. So I have one vintage over here, but this is also that photographer who shoots black and white, and this is a cafe, and I just loved the detail where it's flowers, and it's just very simple with the old Haussmann style apartment building in the back, and it's really I don't know, it speaks to me and just reminds me of Paris. So I love when I walk in and I see it. One of the main reasons I really wanted a place to rest my head here is because I do come for work. I come 5 to 6 times a year. One being to go to all the antique fairs and to fill containers and bring them back to our shop. The other reason is, of course, to get inspiration, like just seeing how they design. I'm actually in the area of the Saint-Germain-des-Prés where all the designers are here, the big brands like Pierre Frey and the wallpaper companies, and the inspiration here is just amazing. So another reason I come. And the third reason I come is because I lead tours here, and that's the reason I'm here this week. We have 9 lovely guests coming and 1 gent. We're super excited, and what we do is every morning we either meet here in my apartment for petit déjeuner or one of our local hotels that our guests are staying in, and then we have chauffeurs that take our guests with us, of course, as your hosts, and we bring you to amazing places. We bring you to artisan brands, we bring you to brocantes, we bring you to the famous Saint-Ouen, the Marché de Puce, which is where the biggest, largest antique market in all of Paris lies. It's such a fun place. You find all kinds of, oddities, but also really amazing vintage mirrors, and actually you can get vintage buttons and make a necklace. This is a Chanel one I found in Saint-Ouen. And we also love to show guests just the way the French live, the cafes, the restaurants, and really soak it all in and have an experience. I do tell all the ladies that come with us that if you want to go see the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, then that's not the tour. I do. I really want to immerse you on how I live, what markets I go to. Actually went to a market yesterday to get some flowers, and it's actually made famous because Ina Garten, when she's here, it's the one she goes to. So the food there is outstanding, but just very different than what we see in America. So I love to, invite my guests to see that and see how I live. So. What makes this house a home, I feel, are all the touches that I put into this home, because when I was shopping around, I just didn't want to go to one shop and just, collect everything and say, okay, I'm done. I took my time. I wanted to make sure it was the right piece. I also wanted something to speak to me. If it really wasn't my style or something I just was like okay about, I didn't really want to purchase it. So to make this house a home, I had to make sure I loved everything. And if I loved it, I knew it would sit so beautifully here. And every time I would revisit and come back to Paris, I feel it would warm my heart. So I encourage that. Buy what you love.
Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Lewis. Thank you so much for coming to my home in West Palm Beach. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
My name is Lewis Miller. I am a floral and event designer with offices in New York and West Palm Beach, and today we are at my home in West Palm Beach. I bought this home in 2021. It's a 1925 Spanish Mediterranean house. It was love at first sight. Honestly, I bought it sight unseen and came down and loved it even more. So then spent the next 6 months to a year really gutting it and doing a lot of cosmetic changes to make it feel like home. Buying this place sight unseen was a little nerve-wracking, but I had looked at so many properties, and what I loved instantly about this property was that the bones were all there. It was a great little size. It was a manageable size. It was kind of a blank slate, to be perfectly honest. It was in great condition. I had to do a few, minor adjustments to the foundations and the roof, but then it was really about coming in and having lots of fun with wallpaper and color and tile and pattern and furniture. Now, the realtor I was with, they were very dubious. They thought I was kind of making a mistake because they couldn't see it. They have since changed their mind. But just walking in and being able to see the light, see the space, see the proportions, see the flow, see how it was a very small house, but it didn't have a lot of wasted space. There were some areas we had to blast through some walls to enlarge some spaces and to connect rooms, but it really was just like, wow, this is amazing. Glad I bought it. No regrets. My kind of decor idea for this place was that I really wanted it to not feel like typical Palm Beach, which can be a lot of blue and white, or it can be very pink and preppy and green. I wanted this to feel like Hemingway, old Florida, like Florida before air conditioning. So really unusual colors like dark teals and mustards and greens and tobacco browns, a lot of antiques, hand-painted floors, using a lot of pattern and natural elements so that it felt very Floridian, but at the same time it was very masculine. It was kind of edgy and didn't feel too expected and had a very warm, sort of curated look about it that just felt like things that I'd collected over, centuries if I were that old, but found objects. Welcome to the entryway, the foyer, the Florida room of this house. So when I bought this house, this was one long room that had a very small doorway here and no other opening. Originally, this was a screened-in porch. So what's amazing about this room is that it has so much natural light flow in. My original inspiration and my hope was to have this whole room paneled in antique Pecky cypress wood panels, but that is so exorbitantly expensive that we had to settle for wallpaper, but I think it was not much of a settle because I'm really excited. We found this faux bois wallpaper by Martin Lawrence Bulliard, which is a beautiful mustard color, and this fell right into the color scheme I wanted in this house. I really want to embrace these sort of deep, old Florida colors, but unusual colors. So you're going to get turquoises and blues and peach and mustard all in one room. This Kaleem I actually found on Cherish. It ties all the colors in. This amazing bench I brought from my house upstate, covered in a Carolina Irving fabric. My two prized possessions are these little lamps here. These are Madeleine Castaigne lamps that I bought in Paris 2.5 years ago, and they're in perfect condition. I love how the bright turquoisey, tealy blue goes against the mustard. And then of course at the end here, it's Florida, it's an entryway. We have this fun rattan bar. So I like having some of these nods to Florida and Palm Beach, like the rattan and the caning, without going too heavy into it. It's a great little room all by itself. When guests come, a lot of people, we just have a hard time actually getting them out of this room and into the rest of the house. This room is quite narrow, and it was a little bit perplexing, like how do you actually furnish a room like this? Because it's really not wide enough for big furniture, so that's why we chose to have this bar at the end of the room, which is adjacent to the dining room, so that works perfectly. I wanted a console here so that I can have lamps, have lighting, have a place to put keys, dog leashes and stuff, and then the bench was a natural choice because you sit down, you put your shoes on, you put packages there. So while this room is narrow, it's very functional, and it's kind of broken down into three little individual spaces in one cohesive space. One thing I want to point out, the door, again, I really wanted a very expensive antique door. They just weren't available. So I found this amazing faux painter down here who did all of this wood paneling. This is all painted on. So this is hand painted, faux painted. The floors were stripped down, so they're just a pickled Florida pine. And then this leads right into the living room, which originally this had a very narrow door, but I opened this up so that this room has much more light. Come on with me to the living room and let me show you this space. This living room was originally the dining room. For some reason, it's the biggest room in the house, so I'm not sure why. And there was actually a door that connected to the kitchen there. We closed in this door, we made this door larger, and we put in all the bookcases so that it's surrounded by books. It's a library, living room, it's very cozy. The walls are painted this deep, intense, tealy green blue. The floors have been hand painted by Mary Mead from Atlanta. They're done in this geometrical tobacco stained pattern with the natural rush rug. These two chairs here I found locally. They're French, antique French armchairs, club chairs, so I love them because they're a little tattered, they're a little worn. The dogs love them. This sofa here, it's a down sofa. The dogs love it, as you can see. This is from Howell, London, one of my very favorite furniture makers on Pimlico Road. And then this bird prints I found in Paris at Stéphane Olivier Antiques, and that added just the right touch because it feels very Floridian, but it's sort of saturated, it's antique, it's vintage. It works great with the colors in here. I love having plants in here, whether they're bromeliads or unusual specimen orchids. And again, like a little bit of flowers every now and then, like these sweet peas. We have a cute little window seat over here that is covered in this hydrangea print with that matches the shades, and the wall sconces all have rattan shades. This is a great room, so I can't imagine it being a dining room. It makes for a very cozy living space, and we love it. And it's also really pretty at night when you're walking down the sidewalk because you can see through the Florida room and you can see the bird prints on the wall. This desk is a vintage bamboo desk. Again, it's from a local antique dealer. It brings in some of that old Hemingway feeling. But there's a cute little detail I want to show you over here, and there's a couple throughout the house. So the guy who painted my front door, I wanted these little surprises. So this is the dead butterfly on the windowsill. So every once in a while, you'll get cute little moments of folly like that that are there for no other reason than to just, you know, make you smile. While this room is directly off the Florida room, the line of sight from here looks over the front yard and the street, but this is, again, was important that the furniture in this Florida room didn't look cluttered, or that it actually made some sense. So sitting in this room, you see the bench, you see the curtains, and it actually does feel like an extension of the living room. Same thing when we get to the dining room, the bar feels like an extension of the dining room. So I've always been in love with the natural world. As a child, I grew up in gardens. I come from a family of gardeners. I've always loved flowers. I experimented very early on how flowers can change the dynamic of a room. I went to school for horticulture and landscape design, loved it. My attention span was a little too short for watching gardens grow, and I fell into the whole floral event design business, which was so perfect for my personality because you can really create a whole space, create a look, and it's all over at midnight. So I started doing this at a very young age. I started my business, Lewis Miller Design, in 2002. And yeah, focused primarily on creating beautiful special events for clients, some corporate stuff. And I have recently opened an office, actually it's 3 years now, in West Palm Beach. So I straddle my time between West Palm and New York City. Flower Flash started in 2016, though the idea had been percolating in my mind for quite a few years prior to that. Now I create weddings and parties and beautiful sort of private homes and hotels, and I've always loved the juxtaposition of flowers and nature and city and the dichotomy and the democratic nature of New York City. And to that point, I was like, I wish there was a way that I could bring flowers to sort of my everyday New Yorkers. It's great that my clients get to see this and experience this, but the people who actually really need this joy in their life are people like you and me who get up every morning, go to work, and kind of get through the day. So at that point in my career, things were going well. I was like, there's got to be a way to give back. So the first Flower Flash happened in 2016. It was literally taking leftover flowers and doing sort of a pop-up street art installation with them for the sole purpose of nothing other than bringing a smile to somebody's face, that they could experience it, they could take a picture, that they could take a flower, and just kind of be a surprise in the middle of New York City. So welcome to my dining room. This room in the house was originally the living room. It has the fireplace here, and this wall was completely closed off. So one of the best things we did immediately was to open this up. This allowed all this natural sunlight to come streaming into the dining room. And you can see it connects to the floor of the room. We have our bar there, so this really feels like a natural extension of the dining room. This room is one of my favorite rooms as well. There's something about it that just feels, I don't know, almost like things were collected from a pirate ship or something. Two of the most important things in this room that really ground the space are these two antique 17th century caryatids. They're Italian. I bought them from a dealer down here, an auction house down here in West Palm. And I paid a fortune for them, knowing that I could sell them tomorrow for twice as much. I actually got a pretty good deal on them. They're incredible. So I actually had them wired to be lamps so that they will light up. They look beautiful at night. They flank the archway here. We then come in, I've got the dining table, which is a pickled oak dining table surrounded by vintage French Louis Sagnot rattan chairs. Louis Sagnot rattan is, I love it, and I have a lot of it in the house. The wall sconces are also that. It's a little less typical when it comes to rattan for Palm Beach. It's from the 50s and 40s. It's French. It has a little bit more style, I think. So we pulled in the same yellow in the cushions here. This is the same fabric that is in the window shades and the window seat cover in the living room. We had this fireplace here that we inherited and could not find an antique fireplace surround that fit right or was somewhat affordable, so we kept this and had the faux painter do very exaggerated faux bois wood on this in this kind of rich mustard color. And then this amazing tile, tobacco stained Portuguese tile, which picks up the floor pattern. The walls are wallpapered. I use a lot of wallpaper in the house. We actually turned the pattern sideways for this wallpaper so that it felt more like a basket weave as opposed to going up and down. We thought it looked a little dizzying, so I actually prefer it this way because it has this kind of tendency to look like a basket weave. And then trimmed everything in this room out in the same green blue that the library living room is painted in. This pink chest is a piece I've had for years. I love, love, love the color. It's an early American blanket chest. I think the peach against the mustard, the blue-green, and the browns is really amazing. It has this old captain's lamp on it. This thing stays on 24/7, so there's always a night light in here. Then on this wall, I have this big crane print. When you have a big wall like this, it's hard to figure out what to put on a space like this, and I didn't want a lot of little things since I already had the birds over the sofa. I didn't want everything to be a bunch of small prints, so I found this locally. It's not an old piece, but it's got this nice saturated tobacco stained look to it of the herons. When it comes to doing flowers for my home, I honestly don't take a lot of chances or experiment because I have things set the way I like, and I want the flowers to not be center stage. They're really just to accent it and give it a little breath of life. So I love pottery, I love vessels. Traditionally, I'll have a beautiful pitcher or some pottery on a coffee table that without flowers, it looks great by itself. But then if I just want to throw a handful of ranunculus or tulips in it, great. Suddenly I have flowers. It doesn't take a lot of thinking. And it's just a nice, I think in general, a nice way to live with flowers, you know, working with the colors of the room so that, you know, you can pick up an obscure color in the room and focus the flower color on that. So they feel bold and they complement the art and the upholstery, but it doesn't feel like you overthought it or overdid it, which I think is crucial. On the dining table, I have always loved majolica, and these are majolica begonia leaves. So they are sitting on the table. I love the colors. They really bring in the colors of the entire house, actually. And then this rattan basket I bought from Sown in London, and just stuff it full of tillandsias and bromeliads, stuff that would naturally grow outside and look very at home in Florida. So this room is fun for entertaining because I hosted Thanksgiving here. I've done dinner parties here. I have a lot of beautiful china and placemats and linens. So it's really great to set this table up. You know, I'm usually a little sparing on the flowers because the table fills up very quickly. So I'll just do some small bud vases, but a lot of candles. But it really becomes about the color of the plates and the china and the linens and how it all works in this room. One little thing I want to show, another little detail here. We have a little mouse that was hand painted there in the corner. He's peeking out of his mouse hole. That's by the same artist who painted the fireplace and the butterfly. And the last thing here is our trompe l'oeil $50 bill on the corner of the bar. So this is very realistic. That's actually hand painted. It's not decoupaged, and it looks like somebody dropped some money, and it's just there for kids to look at and try to reclaim. So this room has a lot of patterns, but I love that because it's got a lot of energy, but nothing is very, very strong. I mean, the fireplace is pretty strong, but you know, I don't know. I think with the fact that it's all outlined in a very strong color, we kept the shade pattern to be a little bit more discreet, and it's more about the color scheme really working and that everything has some space and it's not terribly crammed up against each other. So it feels natural. It works with the natural fiber of the bamboo. You have the views into the other rooms that help it all make aesthetic sense. Okay, welcome to the family room. So this is where we spend most of our evenings. It's right off the kitchen. This room is a very cozy room. We started by wallpapering the entire room in a natural seagrass fabric. The color scheme for this room was really informed by the drapes, this beautiful hollyhock pattern that's got the same blue, greens, and yellows and browns in it. The yellow rug pulls the yellow in, the sofa, the chairs. I've got some antique botanicals here that are Florida native plants. So this again is homage to my love of flowers, but also the flora and the fauna of the surrounding area. So there's a lot of birds in this house. This is an English diorama of owls and pheasants that I got in the Hamptons probably 10 years ago, and I've been looking for the perfect place for it, and there it sits. The dogs love this space because every piece of furniture is down cushion, so it's impossible to keep them fluffed, but they're very comfortable. I have an antique Swedish cabinet here. This is one of my favorite pieces. It's very strong geometrical lines. And that's what's nice about this room is it leads directly into the powder room, which has this super fun crane wallpaper so you get that, you know, view of the birds at the same time. This room does feel a little bit more calm. The dining room, you know, has a lot more pattern going on. This to me is kind of Florida meets English countryside. So there is a lot of English pieces in this room, from the sofa to the chairs to the fabric lampshades. The fabric's English, the bird diorama is English. So this is kind of my comfortable space that is a nod to my love of all things England. And we wanted to have this be more of a relaxing room, because we've got the living room, which was much more intense. We've got the dining room, which acts as a passageway between all the other rooms, which is much more vibrant with pattern and color. And then we have this, which is just much more calm and relaxed. But what's nice about this room is that it leads into the kitchen, and you can see into the kitchen from this room, which is a completely different story altogether. Let's head into one of my very favorite rooms in the house, my kitchen. So what do I love most about this home? It's quiet, unlike my New York apartment. We sleep really well here. I really love the kitchen. The kitchen, I've always wanted a fully tiled kitchen, and we went for it in this home. So it's floor to ceiling, emerald green tiles. It's got a hand-painted floor. It feels very like old world, like an old English sort of Jamaican kitchen, but at the same time, it really, even though it's so different than the rest of the house, it really works really well. And you kind of turn the corner and suddenly you're just in this emerald jewel box of a room. Okay, welcome to our kitchen. So this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. I have always wanted a fully tiled kitchen, and I finally got it. So it's floor to ceiling, these amazing emerald green tiles. We kept the existing cabinets as is, painted them green, changed out the hardware, found this beautiful green veined marble for the top of the cabinets, for the countertops, and had the floor hand painted again in a diamond pattern in the same green by Mary Mead. The light fixtures overhead are from Urban Electric, and we had those customized in the same green. We built these shelves overhead. We have the brass fixtures, the English deep sink. Yeah, it's just a cozy, great room to cook in. This piece is a vintage Gustavian cabinet, which I found on Cherish, which is perfect for a spice rack, and it fits right here like it was made for the place, between the refrigerator and the counter. And then on this side, we have the butler's pantry. So this is a lovely little extension that's got the wood countertops with the brass edging, this fun geranium leaf wallpaper, and then this one hit of pink in this cabinet here in the corner. In this room, I keep my love of platters and china. These beautiful pieces here I buy from a dealer in Paris, and this is handmade. And I just love, again, the browns and the unusualness of it. It's masculine and rich, but it's very old world. These platters here are a local artist, and they're beautiful. Again, there's a lot of flowers and bees and birds in my life, so these are great for hors d'oeuvres or big bowls of pasta. So we put in these open shelves. These were copied after the Duval shelves, but my guy down here in Florida who works for me is quite the MacGyver, and he can make anything, so he made them for me. We ordered the brass rods and the hooks, so they're great for cookbooks, casserole, dishes, bowls, all kinds of stuff that looks pretty and is useful. So this kitchen is great for cooking, and I have every pot and pan, every single utensil, every spice, so anybody can roll in here and cook an amazing meal. However, that person is generally not me. I tend to make arrangements for dinner or order out, but if you want to come and cook for me, it's all ready. This connecting window between the family room and the kitchen at first was a little bit of a dilemma. It was originally a bar counter. It felt very odd. It felt very diner-ish, and we thought we were going to try to find some old bottle glass, stained glass window, or have something made to put that in here. Ultimately, I did not end up doing that, because the way it turned out, it really does have a nice view into the family room. Somebody can be cooking here and visiting with somebody that's relaxing in that room. And it just also allows for a lot of natural light into this room, which could be dark otherwise. What makes a home come alive? Well, in my situation, it's dogs. I have 3 border terriers. And if I could have 6 or 10, I would in a jiffy, but 3 is sort of the max I can deal with being a single dad. So other than that, obviously I'm gonna say flowers and plants. I think it's really important to bring living elements into a house. It's no cliche that bringing living elements does make it feel alive. And color, I think color, nuances of color, beautiful textiles, wallpapers, things that you love, personal things, kind of really eschewing fashion or trends and just doing something that feels really connected to your soul and your aesthetic. Okay, let's go upstairs. Let me show you my bedroom. Excuse me, come on, Tug. Come on. Okay, welcome to my bedroom. So this room originally had a big closet, which we ripped it out so there was a larger space to create a little bit of a seating area. We moved the bathroom door over so that there was actually a proper wall for the bed. These walls are covered in this amazing printed rattan fabric that's got a pale stripe and a botanical print to it. We put in this closet and line the panels with the same fabric. And it's very quiet. The curtains are this beautiful soft sage green that pick up the print of the wallpaper. The bed is a 4-poster bed that I had at my house upstate before I sold it and moved down here. Brought in this vintage rattan chaise lounge with the beautiful fabric there for that corner. That fun monkey side table I found from a local dealer down here. So one thing I really love about this room is, again, the hand-painted floor. So this floor is beautiful. It's in the soft blue and green shades, hand-painted by Mary Mead in Atlanta. Picks up all the soft tones. It's very important that this room feels very, very restful, and it does. So it's great to lay in here. The morning light streams in beautifully. The bed looks great right now and very crisp, but there are 3 dogs that sleep with me, so it doesn't always stay like that. But this is just nice, classic Pratisi bed linens. These lamps I bought from a local auction house, and they just give a nice glow to the room with their silk shades. One of the best things about this house was the bathrooms needed very little work. Now, we did have to move the door and put in a sliding door, and I put in this vanity, but the tile was all original to the house. We painted it the same soft green as the trim of the bedroom. This big deep tub was here, so this room was really pretty much ready to go. Okay, let me take you to the dressing room next. I love this room. This was originally a bedroom, but I decided since I would prefer my guests to stay outside in one of the back cottages that I not have guests stay in the house, that I would have to turn this into a dressing room. So we put in these cabinets that are lined with the caning on the 4 corners. It's a great space. It's got a lot of storage. It's got a lot of natural light. It's a great place to just read, to get dressed, to prepare for the day, for packing your bags for trips. And it just overlooks the front of the house, so it just is a nice addition to this whole series of upstairs rooms. These beautiful chairs are pieces that I got years ago in New York. I had them reupholstered in this stark fabric, and I actually loved them so much I kept them as is, did not reupholster them again. They work great in here. It's a perfect spot to read a book, put on your shoes, put the dog collars on, whatever needs to happen. This lamp here is a vintage French piece. It is by Audemars Manet, I believe is his name, and I bought this locally. This is one of my favorite pieces in the house. It's probably from 1960s. It's all made out of sculpted rope with this green glass orb in the middle and the natural burlap lampshade. This here is Leo the lion. He's one of my most prized possessions. He's traveled around with me for years. I bought him at the New York Botanical Gardens show about 15 years ago. He is one of the few pieces I would actually grab and run out with if the house were on fire, besides the dogs. So come with me to the greatest part of the whole house, the outdoor terrace. My approach to floral design and how I design this home or an apartment in New York or my house that I had upstate, they're very similar. I really want to go for something that feels relaxed, that every piece in the house could actually be a conversation piece, but nothing fights. So it feels very curated. There's a lot of interesting things. There's old things, there's new things, there's layers. Layers is a very important word in all of my projects, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's a home. And so that you can be in the environment, and there's a lot of moments of discovery. So as you look around, you notice, details that you didn't necessarily see at first, but nothing is overwhelming. Welcome to my outdoor terrace. This space is such a little treat. It's on the second floor, it overlooks the backyard. The best thing about this house, next to the bathrooms not needing work, was this tile that was already here. So I did not put this tile in. This tile was already existing. We just worked with it, created this wonderful outdoor room with a dining table, with seating area, found this vintage McGuire rattan chaise lounge set, and had these cushions custom made in the mattress style. And it's just a beautiful area to have cocktails, to have coffee in the morning, to visit with friends, to cuddle with the dogs, read a book. It's so relaxing. It gets a nice breeze up here. Or have dinner parties. It's a great place for dinner parties. So this piece behind me, as an ode to my love of all things English and the English countryside, is a dovecote. So these were created in the Cotswolds, and each one of these little holes is where a dove would go and make a nest. So I found this and brought it in. Thought it worked great there. It's a good conversation piece. This coffee table here was from a dealer down in West Palm Beach. It's this sort of Moroccan style, very large piece. It has the greens and the reds and the blues, picks up beautifully with the tiles existing. So it's a great piece, and it's also nice because of the scale is so large. I don't have to have a lot of little pieces, and it really grounds this end of the space. So over on this end, I put a dining table. This is a great space. It works great as a bar for a cocktail party or for an intimate dinner in the evening. This old wood table, there's nothing precious about it. It survives all the elements, and the older and the more beat up it gets, the better it looks. I found these vintage French bistro chairs that I've surrounded it with. Right now it's got a big old snake plant in the middle, but this has to come off if I'm setting it for dinner. But it's a nice cozy area to have a dining this area, lounge on the other side, and it really takes, again, a big space and breaks it into smaller usable rooms. What does the word home mean to me? Well, let's just put it this way. There's a famous expression that says, go big or go home, and I like to turn that around and say, why go big when I can go home? Home is very important to me. Home, my dogs, my relationships, like this is literally where my life is grounded. This is where I want to be. I can work here, I can sleep here, I can entertain here, I can have friends over. It's just, I can't express enough how important it is to invest in your living situation. It literally trickles down, not even trickles, it gushes down into the rest of your life. And just keeps you grounded.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're heading to Burleson, Texas to visit floral designer and content creator Rachel Ciasco. Rachel opens the doors to her charming home where vintage treasures and floral motifs create a cozy lived-in feel. Then we'll step into her studio where she walks us through crafting a show-stopping garden-inspired flower arrangement. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Rachel Ciasco from Burleson, Texas, and welcome to my homes, and come on in. I'm Rachel Ciasco. I'm a floral designer and I specialize in home design, and this is my home. We purchased the land first in 2021, and then we decided to start our build. We did a custom home, so we got to design every aspect of the house, and we wanted to work from home as well, so we also designed a outside studio for floral design and office work and stuff like that. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to emphasize in our home was windows and natural light. So I put windows in almost every spot in the main living area. And that was one of my biggest design choices for the build. So this is my living room. We designed it around the large mantle fireplace stone, and I wanted a very open concept, but I wanted it to feel cozy and have character. I wanted it to feel very vintage and lived in because it is a new build. And we added the natural stone and a wood mantle, open shelving. We added some vintage aspects to the living room. So we have a piano from my childhood that we added underneath our artwork TV. So we thought that that added a very cozy look to the space. We also added aspects of vintage furniture and mirrors to kind of give that lived-in look. I have a bunch of antique malls I go to and different areas around DFW that I find antiques and repurposed items, so it helps kind of make a more cozy feel. So our mantle, I try and source a lot of like floral aesthetic items as well that look vintage and kind of add to the overall theme of the vintage modern in the house. And so I got a couple of the artwork pieces at different antique malls around DFW. And then I also add a lot of dried florals to my decor in my house as well, because they're preserved and they add some texture to the design. A lot of people ask me why I set up my open concept living space with the couch not facing the mantle. And I thought it was a really great way to kind of emphasize the grandness of the fireplace and mantle. So I put our TV and our piano hutch over here, so it kind of opened up the space and made it feel more like a room. And our couch is super cozy. It's from Albany Park, and I like different rugs to add different color tones in each season to make it feel vibrant. We added a more oval coffee table because I do feel like everything is very boxy in this room sometimes. So I wanted to add different shapes to add dimension and depth to the space. On the back side of our couch, I sourced a sofa table / buffet table, and it's actually from the early 1900s. And it was a Facebook marketplace find actually, and I was just hunting and I found it, and it was a really good deal, and I thought it added a lot of fun character to the space. So we also added a really large chandelier. I went with more of a modern look because it is such a high ceiling. I wanted to add a different type of feel than just like a ceiling fan, so I wanted something modern added in with the vintage, so it really helped open up the ceiling area. Welcome to my kitchen. With an open concept kitchen, I really wanted to focus on hosting family and friends, and it is really accommodating for more kids and super easy to get around. So whenever I was designing this kitchen, I love cabinets, but I also don't like it when it's all cabinets. So I wanted to kind of diversify it and do a lot of open shelving. So instead of cabinets on this kitchen window wall, I added a lot of open shelves so you can see the items that we use, and I could also decorate it and make it feel a little more cozy and less modern. I added warm wood tones instead of like an all-white kitchen, so it felt more lived in and cozy. Just that's kind of like the overall theme around here is cozy. One of my favorite areas of the kitchen is probably going to be the stove area. I decided instead of doing a traditional backsplash to do a all stone backsplash on the back side of it and add a vintage pot filler. It was more of like a modern feel into a vintage look as well. So the stone is a natural quartzite stone. So instead of doing a regular tile on the backsplash, we did get it custom cut to this space. This is another spot where I sourced different artwork from a vintage shop, and this one is kind of like a pencil sketch of some florals, which is also the theme around here, florals. And this is just a vase, like a wall vase. So you can put fresh flowers and you can put it on the wall just to enjoy. I use this a lot when I cut flowers from my garden. One of our most frequented spots in the kitchen is our coffee bar. It was going to be a butler's pantry, but we decided to make it its own little coffee nook. And we also added a wine cooler at the bottom. And we love this space. We use it all the time, all day. We added the open shelving like I did over by the kitchen window, and we added these brass railings to kind of add to that vintage look once again. I thought that was a really cool, unique thing that we added to the shelves. We also went with a different color cabinet in here, as opposed to the stained wood out in the main area, just to kind of give it a different feel, like its own little room and space. We love how it turned out. We also sourced some brass vintage hardware, and we love the brand Smeg coffee makers. They're the best, so it's a really fun space. Very big coffee fan. I think I drink it like 3 times a day. I don't know. I always add cinnamon in my coffee. It's kind of like a thing around here. It's just like always add cinnamon for some reason. So I'm kind of known for that online. They're like, well, add cinnamon to your coffee. But we love coffee. So one of my favorite spots in the kitchen is also the kitchen island. So we added a lot of drawers on the back side. I am more of a fan of drawers than cabinets. I think it holds more and they're deeper, so we could get to all of our items. We also added the natural stone quartzite to the island as well, and it's kind of like a focal point in our kitchen, so I always have fresh flowers in the middle. So I design those every week so it can be fresh and fun with the seasons. It's definitely one of my favorite areas in the kitchen. Next we have our china cabinet hutch. It's just kind of where I put different pieces and different collectibles that I find, like glassware and different dishes that I have sourced from antique shops. And it's just a nice little kind of show area for our stuff. So I do love our island pendants. These ones were definitely different. You don't see a lot of pendants with shades on them, but I thought it added a really different feel in the kitchen. Since the kitchen is a vaulted kitchen, it was a lot harder to find something that would hang low enough, but I think this kind of helped fill in that area in the ceiling to where it felt like its own space in the open concept feel. Most kitchens have the drop ceilings, and I didn't want to drop the ceiling down. I wanted to keep it all open like a big cathedral room. And for the vent hood, I went with a natural plaster, and I decided to bump out the drywall and go all the way to the ceiling within the vault so I could add really pretty artwork to the top. I change out the artwork all the time, and it depends on like the season as well. So this one is very kind of like summery with fruit and florals, and it's one of my favorite spots to add artwork. So for our sink area, I added kind of a brass vintage faucet, and it has a really pretty detailed white lever, and so I thought that was really fun. It added a really pretty detail. We also changed the backsplash on this wall, so it's not the stone. We did the kind of the more different textured tile, and we went all the way up with the tile as well. This bell on this wall I found as well, and it's super fun to ding when the dinner is ready, and my daughter, she loves it. So on my open shelves on this wall, I usually add stuff that we do use. So I'll still add our plates and our cups, but I'll add different decor too to kind of mix through it so it looks a little more styled. And it's definitely one of my favorite things to design in the house, and I change it like probably every 3 months or so. And this is our walk-in pantry. We added a glass panel door and we painted it black just for like a really fun, different look. And we did paint the inside of the pantry a dark blue. And we once again added those vintage aspects, baskets for organization, and it just makes it feel like another space that you can walk into, and it's kind of done up and not just your regular white pantry with just a bunch of food in it. It just seems like kind of like an experience. And I also added a really pretty rug and a bench, and then a really beautiful vintage painting of some fruit. And I made like a little hanging rail, and we added a light sconce above that just to make the space feel super cozy and more decorated. And this is our open concept dining space. It bridges the kitchen to the living room. So when we have gatherings, it's really nice because nobody feels separated. We all still feel together when we're all in the kitchen, the dining, or the living. And it's definitely really easy for the kids because then I can see them and it's not like a totally different space when we're cooking. And it's a really light and airy open feel. We went with a 9-foot table and we got it custom made because I wanted to be able to have everybody at the table at once in my family, because I do have a really big family. On my side, I have a lot of siblings, and so when we have dinner, I wanted everyone to be able to be at the same table. And so it is a custom size, and we also got a custom bench made with it. And I liked adding different chairs to the table because it makes it feel a little more unique and not so uniform. And it's definitely one of my favorite areas. And this is our master bedroom. It's definitely probably one of my most favorite rooms that I've decorated. I did a kind of an evergreen paint color, and I decided to color drench the entire room. So that means you paint basically every bit of it, including the ceilings and the trim. And I added this really pretty gallery wall to my left with the large gold mirror. It's super tall, so when I added the mirror, I was like, well, this wall looks so blank and empty. And so I went and I found a bunch of different artwork, and I just kind of pieced them all together like a little puzzle, and it ended up making this really cool accent wall. This dresser is super vintage. I ended up adding paint to it and making it even look more vintage and kind of roughed up a little bit. And I just love the way it turned out. And where our bed is placed in the room, there is an accent wall on the back side of it. It's painted the same color, but we added different trim pieces to make it look like board and batten. We also sourced a rattan darker brown finish headboard to give it that contrast with the paint. And the overall theme of this room is kind of like a garden-y feel, along with this vintage sourced items as well. This dresser is also a favorite. It's actually from Anthropology. I love the stain color, and it just kind of adds a lot more warmth and depth into the space. And I love it right by the window. The sun hits it and it's like, it like glistens. I also really love this art piece. It's a hand embroidered art, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful to add to the space with the different colors and features next to the mirror. All of these items on this dresser have been kind of like collected. And so including the jewelry box and the trays, and it's just, I love all the details about it. And this is our primary bathroom. This was probably one of my favorite rooms in the entire house to design. It really focuses on the large soaker tub and the vintage faucet and shower. The most unique part of this bathroom is the 8-foot glass wall that we added to the backside of the tub that looks straight into the shower. And we added a really pretty mosaic tile behind it to kind of give a more unique feel within the space. We also added more of a muted pink wall color, and it really helped kind of warm up the bathroom. It was all white at first with the wood cabinets, but once we added the pink, it just kind of made it feel so much more cozy and warm. The vanities, we did a separate vanity on each side of the doorway. We did the vintage faucets. We also did a hardwood and warm color stain. Both of the vanities, I kept the vintage modern look going, and so I sourced the mirrors from a modern website online called Joss & Main, and I wanted a really grand, tall look because the ceilings are so tall, and so I thought the mirrors on both sides of the vanity really helped achieve that. So the tile in the bathroom, we did a herringbone tile, so it looks like zigzag instead of just straight along, and it also has that marble detailing to the bottom, so it gives it a really unique look to the space as well. I ended up adding light sconces in the bathroom that have shades on it, and then the bathroom vanities also do too, just to give it that feeling, that warm feeling again. It's not just like a sterile bathroom that you're walking into. I also added something that a lot of people don't have in their bathrooms. I made a little seating area over by my side of the vanity. I also have a window right there, and the sun comes in from the garden, and so it's just a really nice little corner nook of just a little seating. So if you're like putting on your shoes or whatever, it's just a really fun like little space to have behind all the bathroom stuff. So our closet is right off of the back side of the primary bathroom. My vision when it came to my bedroom suite was easy access to the closet through the bathroom, but also our closet is connected to our laundry room with a pocket door. So that was also a big deal because my washer and dryers are right next to my closet. And this is my daughter's room. We had so much fun designing this. I really designed it around florals mainly. And we also added some really beautiful wall trim. So we did the picture molding on all the walls to give it like a different unique feel instead of just adding paint. We added a really dark mauve pink to really emphasize like roses because her name is Rosie, and a lot of different textures with the bedding and quilts. And we added a vintage dresser and different floral patterned curtains, and it was a super fun space to design for her. I did find a lot of rattan wicker furniture to add to the different texture of the space. It really helped bring the warmth in with the pink as well. I added a couple wall candle sconces on each side of the picture molding with some vintage artwork in the middle. She loves bunnies, and so I was trying to source a more whimsical theme with bunnies and flowers and just make it more of a like enchanted room. And this is my second daughter's room. She still is a baby, so we still have the crib in here. I kept the vintage theme going, but I added different textures to the walls. I did a wood paneling on the bottom half, and then we painted that a really pretty green color and left the top white. We sourced different vintage furniture items like this dresser and just kind of kept that modern vintage feel throughout her room as well. I sourced this piece of artwork actually from more of like a mainstream store. I thought it was perfect with the green color. Gave a very like woodsy feeling. I wanted this space to be more neutral with character because she is still a baby, and it wanted to feel more calming in here because she doesn't really necessarily play with a bunch of toys yet. And now we are at our back patio. We are huge outdoor people, so I wanted to bring our living area from inside and then just transfer it to outside. And so we kept a mirroring fireplace that you can see behind me. And I made a cozy little living space right outside of it. We did add a pool that leads from the back sliding doors directly out into a really scenic view with the background. Our whole idea was to spend just as much time outside as inside because we just love the view and the scenery. So we really made this a super important part of our builds. So instead of placing an outdoor TV or just a piece of artwork out here, I decided to take the mantle and just be a little more unique with it. I added some vines and some trellises with a vintage artwork. Again, I sourced some different pots from different stores around the DFW and just kind of made it its kind of unique moment. We really emphasized the seating around our pool. We added multiple different levels of lounge chairs and rocking chairs. We love to have a bunch of people over. We love to have family and entertain. So we added a lot of different entertainment pieces to our backyard in general. We have an in-ground trampoline, a play set for kids with a turf soccer area, and just trying to find every little different entertainment space that we could, and it's been such a joy to have. Welcome to my floral studio. I have been a wedding floral designer for 10 years now, and it has transformed into home design over time. And I am able to design at home now in my at-home studio, and I have gained a pretty good following on Instagram on my home design account, and I kind of mixed that with gardening and designing florals. I also have my own cut flower garden, and I do all of that from seed. And over the years, I've kind of learned how to successfully grow different cut flowers, and I also incorporate those in my designs as well. And it's been such a fun learning experience to have my own garden in my backyard that I can go to every day. My biggest piece of advice for gardening is to just start and not overthink it, because nature will grow itself and all you have to do is provide a good environment. When designing my studio, I wanted it to be very eclectic. I still added the vintage stuff that I usually do, but I wanted the color to just be all over the place and different, and more of deep, richer tones. The flooring is one of my favorites. I did a diamond checkered look, black and white, and it just made it so fun. I also added a custom painted mural by an artist over in the sitting area, and I did a ceiling floral hanging from the top, and it kind of made it its own little fun space. And I added a lot of open shelves behind me. It's kind of like a catch-all for like floral vases, candles that I sell, different decor items just for the wedding business and for the home design business as well, but it also kind of doubles as decor. And now I will show you how I make one of my arrangements. So I'm going to make a kind of a wildflowered theme floral arrangement from different wildflowers that naturally grow around the area, and some from other places too, but a lot of these do really well where I live in Texas. So I'm going to take these out really quickly so I can see what we're designing with. We're also going to use some flowers from my garden too, so add some different elements into it. I'm gonna start with some sunflowers, just because I thought it was fitting for summer. They love heat, so they do very well here. When you're designing a floral arrangement, you want to do the bigger blooms first to establish your shape. And so I'm gonna go in with some roses next. And these are called golden mustard roses. These are actually sourced from Holland. You can touch rose petals. You just have to be you have to be pretty gentle, but most roses can handle it. It's just white roses. They will brown quicker because they're more delicate and they don't have any color pigment. And so the colored roses do great. And so I'm just kind of folding these back to give it a bigger look. And it kind of looks more artistic this way. So a lot of florists are doing that now, and it's kind of cool. All right. So some hellebores. My favorite flower to work with, I think, would be probably ranunculus. They have the most variety of color. Well, roses do, but that's like the second best. And they're dainty, but they fill in really pretty, and they add more of a different shape. Like, this is a ranunculus, and so like I do it a little taller, and so it'll be kind of like the dancing flowers is what they call it, because their stems are like kind of more squiggly and more long, and it just adds a different element. I love ranunculus. They can be used in a lot of different ways. I would definitely classify myself as more of a garden and organic floral designer. Like, my stuff doesn't have a shape necessarily. We try and make it look like it's growing out of a garden, as opposed to like a circle, like a traditional round circle design, which is more of like your classic ballroom look. Which, I mean, is beautiful in certain areas, but it's just not my preferred style. I am not a fan of baby's breath at all. It is hard to work with, it smells really bad, and it's just not very forgiving on much fun design. And it was a fad for a while too. A lot of people loved baby's breath. And I was like, no, please don't. It's boring. There's definitely stuff like I've seen that you shouldn't put together, like sunflowers and carnations. That looks really bad. I don't know why, it just does. And then I've seen sunflowers and baby's breath, and I don't think that looks good either. They just don't look good together. I've noticed more color is coming into style, which is really nice. Because for a while there, it was just blush and white, and we were getting very bored of just blush and white. But everybody seems to be really open to color now, which is really nice. So I'm excited for the color trend. If you're gonna get any grocery store flowers, just make sure before you design them to take off all the greenery off the stems. A lot of times I see people just grab the arrangement and throw it in water, and then all the greenery is still on the roses and on the flowers, and then the water gets really gross and yucky and infected, and then all the flowers die within like a day. So take off all your greenery, use the preservative that they give you at the store, and put them in the fridge at night, and they'll last way longer. We're just making a little flower arrangement, or wildflower arrangement. I think I kind of know, like, the moment it's done, I'm like, okay, I don't need any more, or it just kind of looks overcrowded. But almost done, so close. I have like a chicken wire base, and then you can use floral foam, which I use a lot for weddings, and it soaks in the water more. And I like to use that more for weddings though, because it's pretty expensive to just have on deck all the time. All right, getting close. almost, one more flower. After you get like your main blooms in, you usually go in with like your small filler flowers, and that'll fill all the gaps in between. And then we'll be done. So I'm adding some chamomile for the filler flower, and it's like a little wildflower. I actually ordered these from the wholesaler, but you definitely can grow chamomile. They're just a little more finicky in heat. So living in a really hot climate in the summer, it's kind of hard to have them happy all the time. And there we go. It is complete, and we have a wildflower floral arrangement. This could definitely be used for like a centerpiece at your dinner table, your kitchen island, kind of like a fun summer garden party. Kind of looks like that vibe. All right, Homeworthy, thanks for coming, and it was fun showing you around, but I gotta go now.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Mackenzie Nancaro. Welcome to my home in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. Come on in.
This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Nancaro, and I'm a floral designer. We're in my home in Santa Barbara, California. My family and I decided on this home because of the bones of the house. It was exactly what we were looking for, and it's really close to the beach. We love going to the beach, and my husband is actually a really big surfer. The only thing that was missing from this house was adding a touch of Mackenzie. And now I look at everything around, and it's just exactly what I always dreamed of. When we first bought this house, it was totally just a 2000 home. It was nothing, I felt like nothing really stood out in the house. So my husband and I decided to redo the bathrooms, the kitchen, and just put a modern flair. We live in a sense of simplicity. We like green, and we like modern. We wanted it to be sleek and easy and chic. And I feel like it was really effortless. When we decided to decorate this house, we wanted to go with a minimalistic feel. I thought that that was the best thing for our family. As you can see, there's a ton of trees and plants and flowers around the house, and I really feel like that gives livelihood to the house. As you can probably tell, green is one of my and my husband's favorite colors, so you'll see it playing into a lot of different areas in my home. And as you can see behind me, the pillows, I just feel like green really evokes life, and it tells a story, and that's what I want someone to feel when they come into my home. I want them to feel alive. I want them to feel the warmth of what's around them. Welcome to my house. This is the sitting area. I'm obsessed with this burnt orange. These are actually from Crate and Barrel. They're swivels, absolutely love. I'm obsessed with orchids, as you can see. And this is one of my favorite artists, a Santa Barbara artist, Karin. And as you can see, these amazing pieces really light up the room. So a favorite color in my house is blue, and if you ask my son what his favorite color is, it's blue. So my husband and I found this on Crate and Barrel, and we absolutely loved it. We felt like it was perfect. We centered this room with this amazing coffee table. This is from Crate and Barrel as well. This whole room truly is Crate and Barrel. This little lamp also is from Crate & Barrel. I feel like it really accentuates the room and adds depth, which I love. If we come over here, this piece is an amazing antique that we found at a consignment store in Santa Barbara called the Art of Consignment. It's one of the best stores, and if you're in town, you've got to go. And we accented it with a few of my favorite books, another orchid, and a really cool vase. I thought it was just added some spice. You know, you need that. You need a little accent. Welcome to my living room. Let's go over here. This is actually one of my favorite pieces, and this is by Picasso. It's a Picasso print, and it's his dove print. And I just feel like it gives the room a lot of character. I feel like line paintings are especially interesting, especially when the house is modern and really elegant. This chair right here, you guys, this is one of my favorite chairs. I probably sit here for multiple hours a day and just swivel around. I feel like this chair is one of the better swivels I've ever found. And this is actually from Pottery Barn. I love the little accented pillow. I feel like this gives it just some character. Now this little area, I feel like a house should have moments, and this is a moment that brings me a lot of joy. I feel like in your house, you need to have a lot of moments that spark joy. And this right here sparks joy for me. My son actually loves rocks, so I got this for him. And this stool is just an antique stool that just has so much character to it. When my husband and I bought this house, we decided to retile this and create a more modern, sleek look, and I feel like it turned out amazing. A fiddly fig leaf tree will change the look at your house, so I definitely recommend going to your local nursery and looking for a fiddly fig leaf tree, some pennygrass to really just spice it up. This is a great area for me. This is one of my favorite books by Danny. This is the owner of Rose Story Farms, and her book just is really educational and talks about all the different roses, which I just love. This elephant actually too has a lot of meaning. My husband's dad passed away when he was younger, and an elephant just symbolizes him. So my children actually call this Pop Pops, and whenever they see it, they just absolutely love it. So this is super important to our family. Now this couch, you guys, the color of this couch is just amazing. And truly, it's one of those colors that never gets dirty. I have to give Crate & Barrel a lot of credit here because it truly is the best couch. I take a sponge to it and just everything comes off. And with 2 young children, that's what you need in your life. So these pillows all really caught my eye, and I love velvet. As you can see, this jaguar print is just so cool and interesting, and truly just like, it makes me happy when I look at it. And when I saw this in the store, that's exactly what it did. It just sparked joy. And like I said before, you need to find items for your house that spark joy, because when you walk through your door, that's what's important, is sparking joy within you. What I love most about this room is the openness of it. I love how it flows from living room to dining room to kitchen. It's a great area to connect with my family, and it just brings us all together. From the beginning, my career path started as a stylist. When I was 15, I started working at Pandora Jeweler. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's a little charm company. And then it progressed into clothing and being a stylist. And then when I graduated college, I really wanted to focus on what made me happy. And art has always been a huge part of my life. My grandmother was an amazing artist, and she, I feel like, put that in my soul. And so I've always been working with my hands, whether it be with paint or just with clothing. I just have always felt a need to express myself. So when I found flowers in 2018, I really felt like I just found my spot. I felt like flowers showed me how to really see the world, because I feel like we really need to notice what's around us, and seeing the beauty in every day. That's what flowers makes me feel. It makes me feel alive. It makes me feel real, and it really makes me feel present, because flowers are only here for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of different things that made me fall in love with florals. I would say a huge thing that made me fall in love with florals is just the colors of the different flowers, the amount of flowers that are in the world. There's just thousands of varieties, and the combination, using different colors, using different variations and putting them together and creating something that you might not necessarily think goes together, but does go together. And that's what really drew me to florals, because you can really create anything that's in your mind, and that was really special to me. And when my clients get that in their hand, or I create an event or wedding and seeing them bask in my art, there's really nothing more fulfilling than that. Right now we're entering my dining room, and this is an area that we wanted to be really clean and modern. So we found these woven chairs on Crate & Barrel, which are super easy to clean, which is amazing. And this table was just effortless, which I loved. You always have to accent with an orchid. Just saying. Now, when you have a smaller space, and I'm not saying my space is so small, but when you have a smaller space where everything flows, it's really important to just add those little bits of layering. So I layered with some different cutting boards, which accent the stove in a sense. And then I got this really cool pedestal, and it's a great way to accent, you know, your olive oil and salt and peppers. Okay, this is fun, guys. Okay, so these avocados are actually from my parents' ranch, and they'll take a few weeks to ripen, but we always have avocados here. When you're trying to elevate a room, look at the simplicity of the calla lilies in this really cool and modern vessel. Adding something simple like this can just add so much to the room. I love calla lilies. They're effortless. Also, it's really important to just add some other little things. I always have flowers around my house. It's one of those things that I think adds a lot. A great place to find vases is actually Home Goods. Home Goods has a lot of different bowls that are shallow enough to create an arrangement, and it's a great place to start. If you're more of a professional, I really recommend Camilla. Something that I cherish about my space is that it's a place where my family gathers and my family connects, and it's really important to me. And when people walk through the door, I want them to feel at home, and that's what I feel like people feel when they walk through my home. Another cool thing that we have in our kitchen is this amazing Karin Husenholt painting, and it's of a woman on a horse. It's just lovely. This is a really amazing and special piece in our house. This is actually the Nyankaro crest, and what Nyankaro means is Valley of the Deer. This has been in our family for generations, and it's so special that it's hung on our wall. All right, guys, come with me. I'm gonna take you into a really small space. In this space, this powder room gives me so much joy. Come on in. You guys, look at this wallpaper. San Ysidro Ranch is an amazing hotel destination in Montecito, California, and it's a really special place for my husband and I because we actually got married there. They have this wallpaper in their bathroom, so I had to have this wallpaper in my bathroom. All right, you guys saw my first floor. Let's see the second floor. Come with me. As you guys can see, I have a lot of art in my house, and it's really important. All these pieces just mean something so different. This piece is by my husband's dad, Chris Nyankaro, and he loved the tropics. So this watercolor painting is truly amazing. Check it out. Now we're in our primary bedroom. This space is just so cozy and clean. Just what me and my husband wanted it to be. So this dresser, we wanted things to kind of match a little bit. So this dresser is from West Elm. We love the marble top of it, and we accented it with a really beautiful antique vase. I always love to add those flower moments to each room. So the calla lilies really elevate. This painting has been in our family for generations. So we actually reframed it at Michael's, and we just thought the coloring was perfect. You always have to have an orchid in your room. Just saying. Going over here, we had the matching side tables, the lamps. I felt like the black and the white was what we were going for in here. Velvet again. You guys, I'm velvet obsessed. But velvet again. With our bedroom set, we really wanted to keep things light and airy, so we kept with white. We added a little bit of fluff, and with the lumbar, we added a little stripe, but it's the perfect place to come wind down and get ready for your night. This rug plays in with all of the coloring in the bedroom because we stuck neutral, and this rug is actually from Pottery Barn. I love the little accents of green, and I feel like the plants really pull the green out. I love it. All right, guys, I'm gonna take you to my backyard, which is such a sanctuary. This is Ralph. He's our golden retriever and the best dog. We love you, Ralphie. All right, so this is our seating area, and it's a really great place to just sit down. These chairs are so comfortable. We purchased this from West Elm, and it's a great set. Highly recommend it. Whenever I have people over, I love to create an environment where people feel special. And so this arrangement I created was with hydrangea, local lisianthus, and helleborus. I thought it was really special. I accented the green, which is my favorite color, with these amazing cheetah glasses from Hudson Grace. I just love the difference between the cheetah and the green, and I just feel like it looks really great together. It's really complementary against the black. It was really important when we were designing our backyard to really play off the terracotta floor. And so we really thought these black aluminum chairs and couch looked really nice. These are from West Elm, and I got the cushions reupholstered in Oxnard. So if you need his number, holler. This coffee table is perfect. It's actually from Hugh Hayward's outdoor collection in Santa Barbara. But it's a perfect place to connect and sit down and relax. I always love to accent small moments like this. These are cosmos, and they're locally grown, and they're just perfect. This rug, I feel like, goes so well with the metal and the cushions as well as the cement. And the rug is from West Elm. Cheap. When you're designing your backyard, it's really important to remember that you can take the flower arranging out of a vase and in your backyard. So here, it's all about layering. So we layered the grasses with a myrtle leaf with a ficus. And it truly gives you a lot of privacy, especially when you're in a neighborhood where it's house to house. My husband and I have found that this is truly a sanctuary because of our landscaping. We're gonna make an amazing arrangement today, so let me show you how to do it. We're gonna start with white jasmine. I love white jasmine because I feel like it has a lot of just shape. So always go with the shape. So if the shape is leaning right, go to the right. If the shape is leaning left, go to the left. It's all about layering with floral arrangements. So if it's not looking good in the beginning, you have to give yourself some credit because it will start to look good, I promise you. I've been doing this for years, and the best piece of advice is keep going. Right now, I'm covering the mechanics with the jasmine, and we are just starting that way. Once I'm through with the jasmine, I'm actually gonna go in with this amazing oregano. You wouldn't think this is oregano, but it is. This is flowering oregano. I like to pick flower varieties that are interesting, that have texture, and this is just one of those flowers. Now remember, we're still just covering our mechanics, covering our base. We're not really worried about shape yet. But I always like to do a high and a low moment when we begin to focus on our shape. But right now, we're just going, as I like to say. Just keep going. So with this, I decided to go in with a piece of foam, and then I do hydrate the arrangement afterwards and just fill up the vase. I like to use foam because it just keeps the arrangement in place and it keeps it hydrated when you need it to be hydrated. So that's why I do that. Okay, so since we're done with the oregano, we're actually gonna go in with a different variety of oregano. So instead of your plain eucalyptus, try to get some spice to your life, because look at this. This is a lot spicier. So let's go in. I like these, and I say it's spicier because I just feel like it adds that textural component that makes arrangements interesting. Okay, so now we kind of have our base layer. We're gonna go in with yarrow now. So this is a peach yarrow. I feel like it just is a great component to add. So I'm gonna just add it where I feel like it's needed. And then we're gonna focus on our shape. Always feel free to edit, okay? I'm gonna add a little stalk. All right, now we're gonna go in with these amazing lisianthus. And these can open up if you just kind of open them a little bit. Now see what we're doing right now? So we don't really have a shape yet, but we're gonna do a V right now. So we're gonna do a high moment over here. Just gonna open these up a little bit. Then we're gonna do a high moment on the other side. Always make sure your buds are off. If you accidentally break something, it's okay. All right, after these lisianthus, I think what I'm gonna go in with is the Rose Story Farm roses. I think that they'll add the depth that we're kind of craving right now. Let's add a little bit of lark. You guys, look how fun these allium balls are, just so you guys know. Look at this. Squiggly allium. So fun. This just adds just like whimsical elements, which I love. I think it's all about trial and error when you're creating a floral arrangement, and if you are new to this, it's all about practicing. And I would just suggest going to your local supermarket, picking 3 different varieties of flowers and starting. Always start with layering your base, moving up to a V, and adding and filling in. See, right now we have an interesting shape going on. We're almost done. I'm adding the Rose Story Farm roses right now, which are gonna be really amazing. It's not about just putting flowers in a vase. It's about experimenting. It's about finding yourself in the flowers. You have to remember that. This is art, and every art project is a form of self-expression. So just remember that. There's no wrong or right answer. Just keep going, keep experimenting, and that's how you're gonna find your style. That's gonna be how you find what works and what doesn't work. All right, guys, let's check this out. I'm loving her. Let's add a few more Rose Story Farm roses. And then she's ready for her new life. I always say that. Flowers, they're here to be a moment. And these flowers here, they're the chosen flowers. And they're stoked. They're stoked to be on your table. They're stoked to be around you, because you know what? That's what they're here to do. Make you feel away and then fade away. All right, guys, let's check it out. I love her. And this is a whimsical arrangement. Always know that there's no wrong answer when creating. You just have to find yourself and keep going. If you're looking to build an arrangement on a budget, I would really suggest looking at your supermarket or farmer's market. I go to the farmer's market every single Saturday and get amazing flowers for really reasonable prices. And if you don't have a farmer's market near you, I would just suggest going to your local supermarket and really picking out blooms that spark something within you. Someone should hire a florist for their event if they want their guests to feel a way. I feel that florists have a way of creating art with the different varieties of flowers, and that allows your guests to feel a way. I work with so many different clients that they don't even give me a lot of detail. They just show me maybe some photos that they like, but it's really what I think that they would like. And I think a lot of people aren't in tune with their creativity, and an artist can bring that out and bring that center and allow that vision to actually come to life. What I love most about my home is the feeling when you walk in the door. When you walk in the door, I feel better. My house is my sanctuary, and it's my family's sanctuary. It's a place where I can go to recharge and reset, and it's a place where I feel is mine. And I think that there's nothing more important in this world than to have a home that feels like you. We're currently in my space right now, in my garage. It's a tiny space, but what's important is to create a space that's yours, and this space is completely me. So I'm actually gonna walk you guys through creating a bridal bouquet and then a centerpiece. I really think you guys are gonna love this because I love creating, and we're gonna create together. So we're actually gonna start with larkspur. I did not process anything because I felt like it'd kind of be fun to process with you. This is larkspur. I actually got this at the farmer's market in Santa Barbara. It's just pretty. I think it adds like a textural component to the arrangement, which I love. I have ranunculus right here, which one of my hacks, you guys, this is really fun, is you get a wire and you actually poke the wire straight through the head of the ranunculus and push it all the way through the stem, clip it at the top, and now you're not gonna have a droopy ranunculus, and you can kind of bend it. It's kind of my secret, which is super fun. So we're gonna just wire a few of these. I love ranunculus. I think that they have a really big head, which just like looks good in bridal bouquets, because I feel like a lot of my brides want a flower that kind of resembles a rose, but is a little bit different than a rose. You have to remember when you're creating that you need the best tools, and Felco is the best for clippers, just so you know. All right, so I wired 3 of these ranunculus, and then I'm going to go in with my roses. Okay, so with roses, this is your standard rose. This is a Playa Blanca rose. But what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna reflex it. So we're gonna flip it over, blow in its face, and we're gonna peel back the petals. So what this is called is reflexing a rose. So I'm gonna show you the difference between a reflexed rose and a non-reflexed rose, and you guys are gonna love it. This is a non-reflexed rose, and this is a reflexed rose. Like, come on. So much better. There's a lot of different flowers that make a space feel grand, but I would have to say that a calla lily is an amazing flower that makes a space feel completely grand, and I actually have them right here. Calla lily. These are local. Vases make a huge difference, and the brand Camilla is one of the best vase brands that you could possibly use as a florist, and they sell wholesale and not wholesale. So if you're just a beginner florist or a novice home florist, these are what you should be buying. So these roses are really special to me because these are actually from Rose Story Farms, which is an amazing rose farm in Carpinteria, and the owner Danny grows these, and I mean, come on, you can't make up this beauty. I love using her roses because they're super fragrant. Really special when they have these in their arrangement. All right, guys, we're almost there to start. All right, I also have to show you guys these amazing dahlias. I'm very passionate about all these local farms that I use. So this one is a local farm in Carpinteria also, and just look at these amazing dahlias. You can't grow these like this. Like if you were to buy these at the store, they're just not as big, and there's not as much of a statement. So these are just such a statement. They're a little stocky, but I like it. When you are processing dahlias, it's really important to clip off. I don't like greenery really, so that's why you'll see in a lot of my arrangements there's no greenery. So I always take off the buds and the flowers. You guys, this sweet pea like brings me life. If this doesn't bring you life, I don't know what would bring you life, because this sweet pea is like absolutely amazing. Okay, I'm gonna clip some pieces off. I'm just getting too excited now. I'm using too many ingredients, but it's okay. We'll give you guys a show. All right, guys, we're gonna start with the antique hydrangea. And when you're creating a bouquet, always start with holding the flower that you're beginning with in your non-dominant hand. So your dominant hand can place the flowers in. Okay, I actually have to look in a little mirror while I'm doing this. So here's my little handy dandy mirror. So I'm gonna place this right here so I can actually look at what I'm doing. Okay, we're gonna start with the hydrangea, and then we are going to start. I like a triangular shape, so one on the right, one on the left, and building from there. As you can probably tell, I don't use a lot of greenery. I shy away from greenery. I use a lot of flowers. I do this because I feel like the flowers speak life, and greenery to me does not speak life to me personally. So that's why I always really use a lot of bloom heavy. Remember with our ranunculus, they're wired, so they can kind of tilt a little bit. This sweet pea, unreal. I'm just gonna add this on the edges. One of the best tips on how to keep your flowers alive and last longer is changing the water frequently. It's so important when you have an arrangement to change the water, because bacteria grows, and that bacteria will actually create a shorter life for the flowers. Also, giving them a little trim every few days will really help prolong their life. All right, I'm going in with these amazing Rose Story Farms roses. I'm actually gonna leave the greenery on a little bit because I think it adds a little bit of complexity to the arrangement, which I love. I feel like a lot of the time when my brides are asking for a bouquet, they really want a whimsical arrangement that is different than your typical white and green arrangement. So see right here how it's a triangle? I feel like this shape really looks good on anyone's body type, and I think it's really important, being a designer, to keep that in check. You need to be able to design for whatever shape that your client is. All right, guys, we're getting to the end here. I'm gonna add a little bit of Tweedia because I love the look of this. And then at the end, I'm actually gonna add a little orchid, which just gives it a little something. All right. So whenever I go in with an orchid, it's kind of like a hanging element. And it's really important to place it in the correct place. So a huge part of the design process is actually editing. So right now I'm not loving where this rose is, and it's really important, being a designer, to always edit. You can always restart an arrangement, and it's not a failure. It's actually beautiful and brave to restart, because it shows that you care and you want to bring your actual vision to life. Okay, guys. All right, let's go back to this. Okay, I'm liking the shape right now. I kind of wait to pull off all the extra leaves till the end. So right now what we're gonna do, always make sure each flower has a space, okay? So right now it's a little bit full. So just kind of move things around a little bit. Love that. And now we're gonna add a little orchid moment. These orchids are actually grown right in Carpinteria as well. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's a huge passion of mine to use local farms. So right now I'm actually gonna twist and flip the arrangement towards me. And this is where you can really see the arrangement and what it's looking like right now. Okay, so we flipped it towards ourselves, and we're gonna see what these orchids look like. Love that little orchid ad. I think it adds a lot of depth. I love orchids because they're kind of I wouldn't say difficult flower, but a little difficult. They're very reactive to their environment, and if you don't take care of them, they will not last. All right, guys, I'm gonna flip this around. This is our bridal bouquet. And now I'm gonna clip the ends and tie it off. And we'll be good to go. We're gonna do a blunt cut right now. What a blunt cut is just making sure the stems are all at the right height. I actually like to leave the stems shorter because I have found that the bouquet photographs better and the bride holds the bouquet correctly. So I'm going to tie it off now. I'm going to use some waterproof tape. This is kind of a awkward moment. It's kind of like, oh, no one's around, and here I am with my tape. But what we're going to do is I'm going to move my thumb. I'm going to go around a few times. Once you get that initial, it's all good. Pull it off that. And done. Now you just need to tie a ribbon and it's complete. What makes a house a home is the feeling of the house. And my house, when I walk in the door, I feel safe. This is the house that I'm raising my children in, and my family feels a sense of tranquility when they walk through the door. And that's what a house should feel like. Thanks so much for coming to my house, Homeworthy, but I've got to go. I have a flower arrangement to make for my wedding on Saturday. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.